The San Clemente Historical Society supports the preservation of San Clemente's historical downtown. Is it possible for downtown to retain its small-town feel, or will it inevitably lose it to development? Downtown San Clemente is at a crossroads. But first, a quick primer about what California law has to say about historical downtowns. The California Environmental Quality Act forbids the needless demolition of California's heritage. But CEQA also prohibits new construction that needlessly impacts the historical significance of a nearby historical resource. Here's the verbiage. To illustrate historical significance, we will use our most visible of all downtown buildings, the symbol of downtown. Much of the historical significance of the exquisite Oscar Easley building is associated with its imposing height and singular location. Holding court at the dais of Avenida del Mar and El Camino Real, the metaphorical and literal apex of downtown commerce. Mr. Easley went out of his way to create the most strategic commercial lot along El Camino Real. His building looks directly down the center line of Avenida del Mar. Visible to all patrons on the avenue, this commanding edifice has historically set the pace for the commercial Spanish village, leading the way for 82 years by architectural example to inspire and to emulate. But disregarding the heritage of any historic resource and allowing it to be overwhelmed by new construction would needlessly impact its historical significance. This would be against California state law. So much for the quick primer, and back to our crossroads. The city is in the process of rewriting the city's general plan. California law requires that the preparation of a general plan include the involvement of citizens. Accordingly, in 2009, the city commissioned True North Research to determine what residents value about the city and to help develop a strategic plan consistent with residents' shared vision. True North conducted what has been described as an independent, random, objective, high-quality, scientific, expensive, and statistically reliable survey with a maximum margin of error of plus or minus 4.88%. Citizens should be assured that city officials working on the general plan have accepted the validity of the survey. Trying to plan the future of the community without a clear understanding of its residents' shared vision is not ideal. So what did the survey say? Here's a sample. When asked to prioritize 10 future goals, the most respondents, 86%, assigned the highest priority to preserving the unique village character of San Clemente. To paraphrase the conclusions of the survey, 97% of residents want to preserve San Clemente's quality of life, which is described primarily as beaches, open space, limited development, and small-town atmosphere. These potent results prompted True North to report, quote, "The dominant theme of the survey results is that residents are focused on maintaining, rather than changing, the character of San Clemente." End quote. The survey was incorporated into the city's vision and strategic plan, which repeated the T-zone themes of small-town atmosphere and preserving village character. The strategic plan also advised that new T-zone construction be respectful of the local context, be designed at a human scale, and protect and foster a distinct small-town feel. Over a year ago, maybe two, the General Plan Advisory Committee appointed to represent residents adopted small-town feel as its number one guiding principle. The GPAC explained that it wanted to ensure that the scale of the city's built environment does not overwhelm. GPAC was responding to the survey and strategic plan showing that the vast majority of residents want to preserve the town's existing character. The Historical Society urges the city to preserve downtown's historical small-town atmosphere in accordance with its residents' shared vision. The Society petitions the city to limit construction on Avenida del Mar and El Camino Real in the T-zone to 2 stories. We believe that more three-story buildings would forever impact the environment that helps to define downtown's historical character. Now, it may be interesting to speculate about what is implied by the term quality of life, and it might be fun to theorize about what constitutes small-town atmosphere. Or it could be entertaining to ask different people on the street what they mean by village character. But all this speculation and entertainment would distract us from understanding and implementing what residents actually want. Residents just want to preserve San Clemente. It's that simple, easy to understand, not rocket science. Stand on Avenida Del Mar and you will see the quality of life enhancing small-town village character of the community. You will see that the majority of buildings are one-story and that only 2 of the 52 commercial buildings on the street are more than 2 stories. If you look around, you will feel the essence of the community that residents want to preserve. It doesn't matter to residents if it's called quality of life, small-town atmosphere, village character, or a ham sandwich. They just want to preserve it. Most residents don't want any more big-town 3-story buildings in the historic downtown area. They want San Clemente to remain small-town. Of course, most residents would welcome economic growth and architectural improvements that would help maintain San Clemente's Spanish village character. There have been many theories put forth over the years to explain the life cycles of cities. But rather than debate the theories, let's look at the actual experience of communities in Southern California over the last 50 years. Take the San Fernando Valley, for instance, where I grew up. A drive through the valley today will reveal what many growth policies have produced. Looking at the bigger is better theory from a different perspective, it might be helpful to ask, how many cities in Southern California actually restricted their growth over the last 50 years and suffered because of it? I can't think of any, but my own experience tells me that there are many more cities that got into trouble by incurring too much growth than got into trouble by restricting it. Laguna Beach is an example of a city that restricted growth, yet thrived and prospered, because they retained their charm and unique village character. They never forgot their brand or sacrificed for development's sake that which originally attracted people to their door. Huntington Beach went a different way. This is a big town look. Pretty slick, nothing small town about it. Main Street has an impressive big town feel. What you feel is the canyon effect. On the other hand, residents of San Clemente want a small-town look. But if we allow more 3-story developments in the T-zone, we could eventually take on a look like Huntington Beach. The question arises, do communities have the right to amend zoning ordinances as they see fit? Of course they do. But some local landowners are now saying that zoning amendments unfavorable to them are an unconstitutional Fifth Amendment taking. Well, I own commercial property and I wish it were true, but the U.S. Supreme Court has never agreed with this argument. We landowners have never won a single precedent-setting zoning case. Instead, the landmark ruling against us came way back in 1926, Euclid versus Ambler, when the Supreme Court held that even a far-reaching zoning ordinance that may impact market values was not an unconstitutional taking. This has never been overturned. Of course, courts have long held that ordinances must not be arbitrary or aimed at a single parcel in the midst of less restrictive zoning, called spot zoning. San Clemente recently lost a spot zoning case in which it was found the city's actions had deprived the plaintiff of all economically viable use of its parcel. But that case has absolutely nothing to do with the discussion at hand, which involves all downtown parcels, not just one, and would not deprive anyone of any economically viable use of their property, let alone all. Our community does not turn over its legitimate downtown zoning decisions to developers. Although three-story buildings have been allowed in the downtown area for a number of years, the lack of parking space on individual parcels has effectively restricted construction to 1 or 2 stories. Some officials point to this situation as a natural control mechanism, limiting three-story construction to maybe a single parcel per quarter century. They say residents have nothing to worry about. But looking ahead to a different time, a different economy, and perhaps a different city government, it only stands to reason that when a large parking structure is finally built in the downtown area, that three-story building projects will quickly proliferate. With developers no longer required to provide their own physical parking, the move to consolidate parcels and to build skyward will gain traction. There would be little then the city could do to deny any landowner the three-story construction permitted his or her neighbors. The cumulative result of three-story buildings on our main thoroughfares could be a big town canyon effect where our charming and historic small-town atmosphere used to be. And if you think we could never lose our precious small-town atmosphere, think again. Like a lot of mature cities, San Clemente is full of developments that seemed like a good idea at the time, but turned out to be poor long-term decisions. Finally, if we really want to be a small town, aren't 2 stories enough? 65% of the existing buildings on Avenida Del Mar are only 1 story now. Converting many of them to 2 stories over time would be a substantial intensification in itself. The Society believes we are now at a crossroads with our historical downtown. Do we go big or stay small? It's crystal clear what the vast majority of residents want. Whichever way you choose, it will surely come to be known as a landmark decision. The strategic plan calls the downtown T-zone the physical and emotional heart of the community. We urge the city to listen to the supermajority of its residents who insist that our downtown maintain a small-town atmosphere.